Jeff, I think we will need you to preside over the meeting in
No,
Mike's
okay,
absence
tonight?
again.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
All right.
ready to call it to order? Everybody else ready? Okay.
Everybody ready?
And the broadcast is running?
Yes, sir.
Yep, we're good.
All right. Calling this meeting of the Freeman Plan Commission to order. You have in front of you a copy of the minutes from the last mission. If there are no corrections or amendments, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 16, 2026 minutes as.
Mr. Miller? Second?
I'll second it.
Second from Jill. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Is this our only order of business then?
No, actually, I'm gonna let Mr. Peterson.
All right.
Talk about what just transpired at the redevelopment commission meeting and what we're asking you to do to move it forward, so.
Sounds good.
All right, I believe you have before you a Plan Commission Order 2026-1. What this does is it approves the declaratory resolution the redevelopment commission adopted, which provides for the expansion of the TIF area, primarily to allow them to expand to do some infrastructure for some development sites that are occurring. It is not providing for an expansion of an allocation area at this time, but it was amended in the meeting to also include the Digger annexation sites, which is 5 parcels to the northwest, as part of that. So the resolution before you attaches the redevelopment commission's declaratory resolution. We will provide an updated one for the records, which show the additional parcels being added, an additional map for that purpose. Otherwise, the resolution is consistent and remains the same. So this is the second step in the process. After the Plan Commission approves, then it goes to council for approval, and it goes back to the redevelopment commission for public hearing and approval. So you're at the second step in the process. If there's any questions that you may have before on this topic?
So essentially, these areas are some of the spaces on the way out to the Third Road property. The Sunnyside Park area, if you were here for the previous meeting, the lot over here actually, the former Bi-County lot, and then the Graber Commercial Properties, or Digger Specialties, I think is what we're referring to really, but it's technically the owner's Graber Commercial Properties. That was annexed earlier this year. It's on Destiny Drive, and it's 5 parcels of bare ground. There is a building going up there now. So that's one that we are wanting to see actually some capturing from. So there'll be some additional work coming through on that. But for now, we're just asking you to approve this, to move this along. I don't think there's anything that's too controversial in this one.
All right. Mr. Hubbard is here. Do you want me to
Yep, you can
turn over
come on up. Yeah.
presiding to him? I can do that.
So would the motion be made to approve the resolution? Or what would the motion?
So you're gonna make a motion to approve Plan Commission Order 2026-1, I guess, as amended.
Yeah.
Right.
To reflect the additional Destiny Drive area. being
I'll
added
make
to
that
it.
motion. Thank you for wording it so well. So,
Ms. Hassel, we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve Planning Commission Order 2026-1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Great, and the second item on the petition was actually the first item, we flipped order here, is the deed from the school. The school executed deed dedication to assist with the development of the parcels over by the school ball field. If you're familiar with the Third Road area, the school has a large parcel of property that includes the bus garage, ball field, and other land. That has an access point that has been an easement of record, but it's really intended for be the public access point. And under the easement, it allows for the school to go ahead and dedicate that to be a public right-of-way finally for that purpose. And so that's what they did. And so you have a form of dededication that's been executed. I have an executed copy that they approved last week, and so all the plan commission doing is accepting that deed of dedication. So we'll obtain basically the approval of formal acceptance and then the signature, which I'll notarize here, and then this will be recorded, so it becomes official.
All right, any questions from the board on that? All right, if not, I'll accept a motion to approve the dedication.
I'll move that we do that.
Ms. Hassel, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Menace, I have a motion and a second to approve the dedication from the school. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Dedication approved.
Okay, and who's the president and secretary?
Mr. Huppert is the
Mr. Huppert is the
president.
president, and I'm the secretary.
Okay, so you guys sign here then.
You're. Mike, did you get a copy of this?
No.
Here.
Well,
You got one right there? Memorandum.
no, these are the minutes.
There you go.
Are you a notary?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Send more of them. Do you still have,
I've got a copy here, yeah.
does Hobby have one?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got
Hobby's
one.
got that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so everybody's got it. All right. I did not expect that we were going to have everybody here, but here we are, and I guess that's a good thing. So, the town council has gotten quite a bit of public comment at its past two meetings, expressing concern about gas stations, proximity to houses, tobacco sales. And so they've asked the plan commission to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance, basically for public health and safety.
Thank you, Sean.
So at this point, what I have prepared for you is this memorandum that says these are the changes that are being proposed. I will, well, essentially, there is also a table that needs to be amended in the zoning ordinance, but the way our zoning ordinance is formatted, neither Keith nor I nor Tara have the ability to edit it on our own. So we're not able to generate that for you yet. But we have somebody who does have the ability to edit it, and they're working on it, basically waiting on the decision that you make tonight. So we're not asking you to approve any of this right now. All we're asking you for is the direction to advance it forward.
So it's basically a recommendation from us to,
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
So all you're doing is setting it for a public hearing at this point.
I see.
So we'll have a public hearing, and then you can make a decision on whether you want to make a recommendation. We'll come back, I think it's got to be about 10 days later,
Okay.
to formally make the recommendation. So we're talking about two different meetings. So we'll make, basically just public hearing, you get public input. At that point, you can still, basically you can make a recommendation, give, I guess, favorable recommendation, unfavorable recommendation, no recommendation is actually an option. The council, to be fair, is not bound by your recommendation. If you give it unfavorable, they can still approve it. Likewise, you say give a favorable recommendation, they can actually still turn it down. But if you look at what we've submitted, essentially it is, the first segment is changing gasoline stations from a permitted use in the general business district, the local business district, and the downtown district. We're basically shifting it either into special uses, which is where they still have to come in and make an application, or taking it out of the permitted uses or the special uses and making it so they'd have to come in and ask for a variance, okay? The concern that has been raised is that in regard to the gasoline station specifically, that the pumps and the fumes that they generate and the venting from the tanks is very close to residential neighborhoods. And, you know, every community is unique in how it grows up. Some grow out. Bremen is very long. You know, we have a lot of our commercial properties along Plymouth Street. And the issue that you have is that there are not a lot of buffers in between our residential neighborhoods and these commercial properties. So in the past, we've obviously allowed at some point in the distant past, gas stations to frankly be across an alley or across the right of way from homes. This isn't saying that that can't happen. It just means that it can't happen in some of these places without coming in and getting permission to do it. And giving those property owners an opportunity to say, well, wait a second. It doesn't take it out of the light industrial areas. It moves everything into the special uses. And that's because we have some weird places where there are light industrial properties that are still very close to homes. You know, not great planning, but it's the situation that we find ourselves in. So, the example I would use, down Berkey Street, those storage units, they're light industrial, they're not causing any problems, but if somebody else bought that and wanted to put in a service station there, or one of these other businesses, all of a sudden, they could go in there without any input from anyone else because of the way the zoning ordinance sits right now. So, this is a change. I will say, we're probably out in front of this compared to other communities. This is why we're asking you to consider it. But there's a number of people who are coming forward and trying to bring up evidence. I'll get into it a little bit more here, but chapter 13, the amendments there, these are all definitions that we would add, that we don't really have anything to address. Some of these things right now. So essentially what you have are new labels for certain types of businesses. We do have an existing gas station definition already. This adds convenience stores, alcohol retail stores, and tobacco retail, or smoking retail store. So essentially, what this does is that it has some sub-definitions on the tobacco side to define kind of the variety of ways that you can ingest tobacco, some of those things. So essentially, we just need to define those in order to give the other sections of the ordinance meaning, right? So when you look at that first section we just reviewed, those definitions are what explain what those things actually are. It's worth noting that the convenience store definition can require or doesn't require gas pumps, so they can have gas pumps, they can't have they don't have to have gas pumps, they fit that definition.
But they could.
Yep. So, and essentially you could imagine any one of the most of the gas stations we have. The example I thought of was, if you remember the old Marathon station that was next to Woody's, Tony Leapers, that was a gas station, and frankly, the older sense that I think our original zoning ordinance anticipated, which was they may work on cars
Service
there, service station model, as opposed to all the modern gas stations really fit more that convenience store model instead. And then the third segment of it is that there are some additional standards that are imposed on those definitions. Basically distances from the school, which is something the school has been, the town has been very sensitive to, I guess, to the town council for several years, but then also distances from each other. The other thing that was kind of a late addition was some setback standards for distance from pumps and vents to residential properties, and that is in direct response to some of the concerns that folks have brought to us. So at this point, I'm not asking you to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you look at the last page, kind of that required action section, what am I asking you to do with this? We'd ask that you set it, we can't set it any earlier than 10 days. So given that we have everybody here, we might want to talk about a date. there's things that need to transpire. We need to publish a public notice, so that, the public is advised that this meeting is going to happen, but we also need to send out specific notices to folks who would be affected by this. And I will tell you, there are some existing businesses that would be in violation of this, and they are automatically going to be declared, I think there's language in there.
Non-conforming use.
Yeah, they're legal non-conforming uses at this point, so as long as they continue in that use without stopping, they basically are going to continue. So we're not talking about any existing businesses that are gonna be changed. But we do want to make sure that they are notified that these changes are going into effect. I will tell you that I walked, or I shouldn't say I walked, I looked at town from east end to west end and just walked through the map and tried to think about what areas would there be potentially that could turn into one of these properties. That could be a convenience store, a gas station, tobacco shop, a liquor store, effectively, that's not the technical term we use there. So, and tried to think about where these things could come up and what issues they would present, because again, we don't always have great buffers between those businesses and our residential areas. I've tried to think about that pretty carefully. Happy to talk about it with any of you who'd like to know more. But we really just set that public hearing. You can basically make your initial recommendation, but then we come back to certify that at a subsequent meeting. And then we'll have this in the town council's hands, and they can choose to approve the formal amendment of the zoning ordinance that way.
Okay.
So yeah, so right now, really all we're asking you to do is tell us to move forward or not, and hopefully we can pick a meeting date if everybody's got their calendars with them.
Okay.
So,
I've got a couple questions. The first one, under chapter 6A, you've got gas station, convenience store, alcohol, tobacco store shall not be located within a half mile of the school or within 1 mile of itself. Are those pretty standard distances, like
Well-
what are other communities doing in this?
You're seeing some communities use this, but every community is unique in what their circumstances are. What I looked at when I modeled this, one that I have been reading a lot from, was Jeffersonville. And that's all the way, the southern part of the
Yeah.
state, right across the river from Louisville. And their problem is that Kentucky put they have some sort of rule that basically made vaping materials harder for young people to access. And what ended up happening, they discovered, was shortly after that change went into effect, businesses started popping up to sell those tobacco products, whether they sold gasoline or not, together. Now, we are not the same size as Jeffersonville. We have a different set of circumstances. We're not close enough to Kentucky or any state that's doing anything that's affecting these businesses popping up. What made me lean towards their version versus a couple of the others that I've seen, and I wouldn't say every community has this, was that lack of buffer between our commercial spaces and our residential spaces. And that goes all really, like literally from this point all the way to the west. If you look at it, the existing businesses, for example, the Marathon Station, there's an alley and then you're at a residential property. If you look at Casey's, it's a little bit of a deeper lot, and there's some green space in between there, but it's not that much further. You're talking about another couple hundred feet, so it's not big. And that's just the way that Bremen has grown organically. It's a situation that we find ourselves in. The goal of this is, I think, to make it so that these uses are essentially reviewed and approved before they go in. This is not an outright ban. So this is going to push work onto the Plan Commission. So those of you that are members of the Plan Commission as well, I'm sorry. But essentially, these are going to be things where people are coming in to apply for the special use exceptions, or they're applying for an outright variance. But that at least gives the BZA members the opportunity to look at proximity to housing or whatever else is in the immediate vicinity and whether it's appropriate to put it there.
Sure.
So that's not really any different than the way we treat some other categories that have some health or public safety concerns. It's kind of the whole point of the zoning ordinance, really. But it's that lack of buffer is what's driving this. So,
Okay.
but I wouldn't say that these are necessarily common standards from community to community. To get back to your question, Mr. Clark, it's essentially just something that will get it in front of the BCA. So now, ultimately, you guys could decide, hey, those standards should be scaled back.
Okay.
And you absolutely could. So I want to make it clear that this isn't set in stone by any stretch of the imagination. You could set those levels differently if you want.
Okay. The only other question I had is, so if a business is considered a non-conforming use, let's say this passes and you have businesses that are non-conforming use, if that business shuts down or moves or whatever, then somebody else wanted to start the same business in that location, they could not do that, is that correct?
Not necessarily they
Okay.
could. So your businesses can change hands and still continue on with that non-conforming use. And the zoning ordinance has some language about when you would have to come in and apply. Now, I believe the ordinance says that if you're a legal non-conforming use, you can continue in that use. You can change to another non-conforming use, but you do have to come in and petition for that. I think
Okay.
that came up with one of the properties on this end of town, where they technically have a non-conforming use, but the potential buyers, we had contacted from several, and they wanted to do different things with it. We said, nope, you still have to come in. Everybody wants to be able to avoid having a meeting where they have to come in and
Right.
do this if they can, and unfortunately, it's just difficult to do that for something. And realistically, I would say that's appropriate when you're talking about a business that's gonna be operating
Sure.
next door to people's houses.
Yeah, well, that was my question, was it a designation of the property or of the business that's on the property? It sounds like it's a designation of the property itself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if
So-
somebody comes in by the Speedway and they wanna make it a one-pump gas station, they have to come back in, cause it's.
Under this
It's not
change?
grandfathered into this anymore.
Yes, because
Okay.
that's
Right.
shut down, the use ended quite some time ago.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but if, for instance, just to give an example, the closest one, if the marathon shut down for 2 months and then someone came in and reopened it, I don't think that length of time would be enough of a lapse to say that they're no longer a legal non-conforming use. That would, so typically for that kind of business, you're gonna see a handoff where it never really stops operation, and I don't anticipate that being an issue. It would
Okay.
be more rare, I think, that you would see that happen. It does happen, and that's why there's language in the ordinance to address that already. But typically, I would say it's uncommon.
Okay.
And how would that affect this new business that wants to build? If we do all of this, are we changing the rules on them, or are they still operating under the old rules? How would that be?
Well, I think there's going to be some dispute over that. I think they reached out before they acquired real estate saying, hey, is this a permitted use here? And at the moment, it isn't. I think the town council's directive to me has been based on the concern that they've seen brought to them that this needs to be updated. I don't think they're gonna be able to have their use up and running before this goes in. Now, to be clear, my understanding of what I have prepared is, it doesn't mean that it cannot go in there. It just means that they're going to have to come in
Petition, right.
and essentially make a presentation to the BZA about what they want to put there, what it's gonna look like. This is the design, this is where the tanks will be, this is where the pumps will be, this is where the lighting's going to be, this is what the landscaping's gonna look like, this is what screening will be there. Some of those things that if you were having any kind of business go in, you know, in close proximity to your house, that you would probably wanna know. So I wanna reiterate that, I don't think that we're making an outright ban here. But they are going to have to come in front of the BZA and essentially, you know, kind of explain to the public what their project looks like.
Okay.
Do these tobacco definitions cover pot shops if the laws were to change for Indiana?
So I had the exact same thought. I think that we could modify them to cover marijuana. I did not put anything in, because marijuana is not legal yet. But I absolutely wanted to make sure we had something that we could change. And don't get me wrong, I think if there is legalization eventually, it's not gonna be something where it's legal tomorrow. It's going to be something, it's legal by July 1, whenever they pass it, and I think you'll see all the communities going in to do this. Now, the interesting thing about this is, if you like this framework for potentially a marijuana dispensary, it's really easy to add them just as one of the shops or types of businesses that would have these conditions. And I think they probably fit this framework very well between, you know, distance from the school and then potentially distance from each other. So I will tell you, there is a competing philosophy of, are you better to concentrate your uses in one place? I don't know that that really solves our problem, because again, our issue is the lack of buffers. If we had a different shape that wasn't so elongated, I would absolutely probably agree with that philosophy. In this case, it's just our unique circumstances, I think, demand something, a different approach than what you might see some other communities do.
So say Casey's wants to add a charging station, they'd have to come in for that?
I'm not sure that Casey's would need to.
Okay,
And the reason is they've got that legal non-conforming use status already, or they would have that under this framework. And I am not sure that the charging station would necessarily add anything that would be immediately hazardous to any of the adjoining properties.
yeah.
So, I don't know enough about the charging stations. I don't understand that they have any large battery storage or anything like that to them. It's just a charger that's tied into the grid, so, at least as far as I know, and I have to always say, I'm not the most technically minded person. But
I'm just thinking about existing businesses, if they have to replace their tanks, they have to do anything special, I mean, does it affect them any which way? Cause they're already.
I don't think that would, that's in the normal operation of their
Okay.
existing use. So, I don't see that potentially as an issue. If somehow, you know, 100 years in the future, we're all electric cars and the gas tanks are out of there, you know, the ordinance still works, whether or not you need it the same way, you know, that's the sort of thing that you come back and you amend it when circumstances have changed.
Yeah.
Because then you're not worried about fumes and venting and things like that next to residences.
So he talked about adding something new to a pre-existing business. What if our marijuana becomes legal? Then would that not be advantageous for those businesses to be the first to begin to sell it, just as part of their inventory? And could they do that without coming back?
I think we'd probably have a special ordinance concerning just marijuana and the sale of marijuana. Don't you think? I mean,
I don't know how it
Well,
works.
if you look at Michigan, there's no gas stations that you can pull up into, or even the tobacco shops. They're actual dispensaries
Okay, I didn't know that.
that are standalone.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that
and-
they have their different, totally
and-
different.
And there's some local
separate
approval to it.
Separate category.
I don't know a ton about it, but what what I would just say is there's a framework that we don't know what it's gonna be.
Okay.
The legislature will have to prescribe some of these things, and I doubt it's gonna be the Wild West.
So it's kind of
Where-
like them not being able to sell hard alcohol.
Or cold
They-
beer.
Or, yeah, that kind of
Exactly.
thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it, thanks.
So, and part of the struggle with even this subject matter is there's some things that are within the town's scope of authority. There are other things that
Right.
belong to the state to handle. And that's one of the things that we'll figure that out, cross that bridge when we get there. When the state actually says, this is stuff is gonna be legal and this is how it's gonna be sold, there'll have to be frankly a long run-up to that.
Yeah.
Before legalization, so, that's, I expect that will happen at some point. I couldn't tell you how imminent it is, and I would like to be able to easily slide something in there, but the reality is, if they have, a framework that doesn't work with this, yeah, we'll have to change it anyway.
Yeah.
But right now, it is intent to be plug and play. I had the exact same thought, that where is this going in the next few years? And again, it's not saying it can't exist, it just basically gives a little bit of control to the BZA to be
Yeah.
able to say where it might be, so. But I think you'll see, I anticipate we'll see support from, I'm expecting some representation from the school to be here in support, because again, they've been kind of expressing concern about this for a while. I think you'll see some of the neighbors, just some concerned folks from the town here, and maybe we'll see potential retailers coming in and say, hey, here's why these standards are unhelpful. So you'll get some input and then hopefully be able to make a recommendation.
So should we get our calendars out? Sounds like that's the next step, right?
Yes.
Okay. I would prefer to be away from Mondays and Wednesdays, but if it has to be, it has to be.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 days out from today would be the 28th, but I also need 3 additional days to publish my notice. That's how far out they are. So really, you're looking probably no earlier than June 1st. Do you want to do the, I would prefer the 4th or maybe the 11th, depending on your schedules.
I could do either one of those.
I am unavailable both of those.
Okay.
I can't do the 4th,
Okay.
or the 1st or the 2nd.
Okay.
Is Tuesday the 2nd too soon?
Well, he just said he wasn't able to
Oh,
do,
no,
to be
Tuesdays.
there the 2nd.
Okay.
What about, and another thing is, we also may want to consider the Fireman's Festival.
I say the 11th would be the Fireman's Festival, you
Yeah,
probably don't
that's
want to do
true.
it
Yeah.
then.
That's 19th, isn't it?
No,
I
it's the
think
9th to the 13th.
9th to the 13th.
So-
9th through 13th.
So what about-
3rd or?
I was gonna say the 3rd. Alex, is that bad for you as well?
That works for me.
The 3rd does work.
I can
Not
do
for
it.
Jill, right?
I think I can do the 3rd.
I,
She already took one for the team.
I
I know.
Okay, I'll do it again. I have to, I mean,
That'll work for me.
I think I'm okay the 3rd.
Does earlier work better? Because this was just following an RDC meeting.
I have an exercise class I pay for up front, and it's from 5 to 6.
I'm saying like 4 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, I can do 4 o'clock, that's easy. Yeah.
I don't know if I can do 4 o'clock. I'd rather,
Well, it's looking like the 3rd, but we're haggling over the time. It also, if your session is at 5, Jill, it might, this might be a long meeting.
Yeah.
So,
How many people do we need?
Especially if it's a public meeting, correct?
oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I would expect substantial public comment at this one.
What time did you say, 5 to 6?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a.
6:45?
Well, I was gonna say, set it at 7.
Yeah.
And the other concern I have about going earlier is,
You get it too early, people can't get off work and be
exactly,
here, so they're.
so people
That's
who
fair.
want to be there may
Yeah.
not be able
Yeah.
to come, so that's always a
I can be
concern.
here by 6:15. That's no issue, because it's either the community center or the park.
Okay.
Doesn't, whichever, whatever the weather
6:30?
tells
Do you wanna
us.
say
Set it for
6:30?
6:30?
6:30 on the 3rd.
6:30 on the 3rd.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Should we get like a food truck or a beer truck? I mean, there's probably gonna be a lot of people here.
We get beyond that.
Make a little money off of it.
Yeah. I'm not mad about that.
Page for some banners, right?
They're one to peel.
There you go.
Popcorn. Could get popcorn.
Get
at the
popcorn.
theater. Yeah.
Theater can open up.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move forward with the public meeting, or public hearing on this proposal for June 3rd, 2026 at 6:30 PM. We'll make sure that notices go out to affected property owners, and then just publish to the public at large too.
Is this a BZA meeting or what is this?
That'll be a
Plan
Planning commission, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Do you need a formal motion from us?
yeah, actually, if you don't mind, that would probably be best.
Okay, and
So-
how does it need to be worded?
So you're making a motion to set the public hearing on the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance for June 3rd, 2026 at 6:30 PM.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on this, I will entertain a motion to set the public hearing for June 3rd at 6:30.
Make that motion.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to set the public hearing for June 3rd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
That is all I have for you tonight.
All right, any other business we need to discuss? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Daly,
Second.
Mr. Miller, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Oh, you're gonna steal your job.
You can have it.
He keeps trying to give it to me every year.
I'm resigning June 2nd. I've talked more to Jay Bungie in the last month than I have in 10 years.
Still recording, gentlemen and ladies.
You see the lady? Whoever the other lady is really